Nebraska sitting at 4-3, their first winning record since 2019 after the first 7 games. It hasn't always been pretty, but it hasn't needed to be. So let's get into it. What Matt Rhule needs to do going forward, what we should do at quarterback, what's the good, the bad, and the ugly. So if you don't want to miss any of the content here on Will Simmons Sports, please hit the subscribe button and also hit a like on the video. It really helps me out. But let's get into it. So I want to start off the video with this. Matt Rhule has proven to me in the last 2 games that he is the guy. If there was any need to be concerned, he has proven it right now. These are games against Northwestern last week and then against Illinois the week before, or 2 weeks before, that Scott Frost would have found ways to lose. And Mike Riley would have found ways to lose. And Matt Rhule, it hasn't always been pretty, and we haven't played great as a team, but he finds ways to win. He makes adjustments. The defense has been lights out, and we end up winning the ball game. And now we're sitting there with a winning record for the first time in 4 years, and we have a very manageable schedule ahead of us. Man, that's awesome. It feels refreshing. Yeah, the team isn't playing awesome. And to be honest with you, and I was talking about this with my dad after we went to the Northwestern game, I said, this team is not very good. Like, this team is probably worse than it was last year talent-wise. But the coaching is so much better that it's such a better product on the field. That's why we're winning games. The talent isn't there. I mean, we've seen it, and we've been injured, we've been banged up, but man, the coaching has been so good, and that's why we are where we are. So that's the first good thing. Second good thing is, I already mentioned it, is that the schedule is really manageable going forward. We play Purdue at home next week. That should honestly be a win. Purdue is not playing good football. Then you go play Michigan State, which has been a mess all year since the whole Mel Tucker thing. They just got shut out against Michigan last week. After that, you play Maryland. That'll be a tough game, but you're playing that at home. Maryland's a little bit overrated. That's kind of a prove-it game. And after that, you play Wisconsin. They're number 1 in the West right now. They're going to lose to Ohio State this week. Again, this is a very beatable team, too. They've had close games all the way around. Got blown out by Washington State. Really a team that you honestly could beat if you're playing your A game. And then you play Iowa, who's coming off a loss to Minnesota. Iowa's not very good either. So you have the next 5 games are very, very winnable. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say we're going to end the year 9-3. No, it's not going to happen, right? But we not only can make a bowl game, we can make some noise in the West. So that is what we need to do. But man, that's another great thing. Number 3, this defense. Wow, this defense is spectacular. The pass rush has been amazing. It really came up huge last game. This is what I love about the defense, though. It makes adjustments. And true freshmen, the best talent are playing. You saw Prince Emmanuel. He was getting some playing time. Cameron Lenhart's been awesome this year. You keep seeing guys who are really talented. They're getting reps, right? We haven't seen that in the past, where Scott Frost will just hide these true freshmen for years and years. Like Matt Rhule said, hey, and Tony White said, hey, if you are a really good true freshman, you're going to get on the field. So really love that about the defense. I will say this about the defense. The secondary is really inconsistent. Malcolm Hartzog, I was really low on him in the offseason. Some people caught me a little bit of slack for that in my videos going over the secondary. He hasn't been great, man. He's been getting burnt left and right. It feels like every game. Really, really about time you kind of make a switch there. You make a switch. I liked him at safety. I would really want to see what he could do there, but if you're not going to move him to safety, just get him out of there because he hasn't been playing good. So that secondary hasn't been awesome. And I also say this is that we're a really good defense right now. We're a really good defense. We are not a great defense, and we're not an elite defense. Because you know what great and elite defenses do? They force turnovers. We do not force turnovers at a good enough clip. Northwestern had a backup quarterback who was incompetent last game, and we didn't force a single turnover. So, yeah, we need to find ways to do that. And that's what Tony White did at Syracuse. His defense at Syracuse just found ways to get to the ball. They were ball hawks. Their secondary was really good, and they got turnovers. We just haven't done that, and we need to find a way to. That'll make this defense even better. And really will put it up in that upper echelon of top 20, top 10 defenses in college football. So really good defense. Other than that, again, the fact that we control our own destinies, another great thing. When was the last time you were able to say that? And again, all the games, we already talked about it, very manageable ahead of us. If we went out, we're going to be in Indy. And granted, if we get to Indy, whoever we play, whether that's Michigan or Ohio State, we're going to get smacked around for sure, but just winning the West accomplishment in and of itself in year 1. Not saying it's going to happen, but the fact that we have an opportunity to do so, it's awesome. We control our own destiny, man. The last one, I already mentioned this a little bit on the defense, but young guys are balling out. And I talked about Prince and Lenhart, but The guys who aren't being talked about, Justin Evans-Jenkins was awesome. He's been awesome. We've had a lot of injuries on the O-line. He almost started going into this year. He's been awesome since he's filled in. Another guy is getting reps, Henry Letufsky. He's not really a young guy anymore, but he's been getting some reps. He's been awesome. Emmett Johnson averaged 6 yards a carry against Northwestern. Really guy I wanted to see more of going into this year, and he's been really good. Had kind of a prove-it game. There's a lot of doubters of Emmett Johnson out there. Ever since the recruiting process, he was Mr. Football in Minnesota, his senior year of high school. And a lot of people were like, well, why didn't Minnesota offer him? But he really proved that he's the guy last game. And then the last guy was Malachi Coleman. Malachi Coleman, I've been begging to see one of these true freshmen at wide receiver pop out, and he did so. And granted, he only had 1 catch, but it was a great play. He burned his defender wide up in the end zone. That's what you want to see from him, man. He has all the skills in the world. Made a great play. You just got to see more consistently from him. He was starting. It was his first start. Really impressive. I want to see him get about 5 catches a game. And that also goes for Jalen Lloyd. That also goes for Jaden Doss. So more true freshmen need to get involved, especially with Billy Kemp going out probably for the rest of the year. That leads us to the bad part. And starting off with something we cannot control is injuries. Wow. We are really banged up. 8 of our starters going into this year are out right now. 3 of our starting wide receivers, that being IGC, Marcus Washington, now Billy Kemp, are out. Our 2 starting running backs, Gabe Irving, Ramir Johnson, are out. Jeff Sims has been out for most of the year. It's been he's back, but he isn't starting because Harbaugh been playing all right. And then we just had a bunch of O-line injuries. Teddy Prohaska's got banged up. Ethan Piper got really banged up. Ben Scott got really banged up. So we've been just really hurt. Can't control that, but that will kill you if you don't have depth, which we do not have depth as of right now. And that's not Matt Rhule's fault. That's nobody's fault. When you inherit a really poor program like Matt Rhule did, you're not going to have any depth. So right now we're playing a bunch of true freshmen who are playing well, granted, but you're playing a lot of true freshmen and walk-ons at positions that you do not want to. So that's another thing. Second bad thing is Marcus Satterfield, man. And you know what? I'll just go ahead and say all of the staff hires, most of the offensive staff hires were not great. Marcus Satterfield, just sloppy. And this is what I don't love is that Matt Rhule kind of went in his press conference, I think it was a week ago, and he said, we are not a sloppy football team. The offense is sloppy. I'll tell you that. The offense is sloppy. There was numerous times where we go out there and we throw 3 straight passes. We are not a passing football team. We should never have a scenario where we're throwing 3 straight passes unless it's a 2-minute offense, right? There were a couple times where Harbaugh was running the wrong direction or he was pitching it to a man and the man went the other way. Just really sloppy. There was a play where we were coming out of a timeout. And we let the play clock run all the way down to 0. We had no idea what we're doing out there. And Harbaugh snapped the ball, and it was a fumbled snap. It was a fumbled snap, and he went on top of it for a loss of about 7. It's just those sloppy things like that. A lot of delay games, a lot of penalties. And I just can't help but think Satterfield's responsible. Again, the O-line's been really bad. Harbaugh hasn't been great, but man, the play calling, and a lot of these a lot of these penalty stuff and disciplinary stuff, really, it shouldn't be happening. It shouldn't be happening, and it's killing us. Other than that, man, I want to get to Harbaugh. Real quick. I'll go back a little bit to the stat fire. I am of the opinion that Harbaugh is not the answer. Harbaugh is not the long-term answer, I should say. He can be the short-term answer, but Harbaugh is not our starting quarterback next year. I don't really think people are debating this out there. He's not going to be our starting quarterback next year. He's not been great. He had a bad game again against Northwestern. He would have had a really bad game against Illinois, really bad game against Northwestern. He had 2 picks in the opening 3 drives. He was staring down Fedoni all game. I get it. Fedoni was his roommate for the first 2 years of college. I get it. But you cannot be staring him down in Power 5 football as a quarterback. His progressions, I talked about it when he first started playing. I said his progressions are really weak. He'll have 1 or 2 guys at most, and then he'll book it. And they have not gotten better. He underthrew a lot of footballs. There were a couple that really should have been picked off. He underthrew a lot of footballs. Just had a really bad game against Northwestern. And every time I feel like we're talking about Harbaugh, we're having this quarterback debate, everyone's like, oh, but he's a spectacular runner. He runs really hard. We get it. We shouldn't even be discussing his running ability because Jeff Sims could do that too, right? Jeff Sims is a very flawed quarterback. I talked about it in the offseason. I did not like Jeff Sims as a transfer addition. Jeff Sims is a very flawed quarterback. However, if there's one thing he does well without debate, it's running the football. Even better than Haarberg. I mean, do you guys remember his 50-yard run against Colorado? Like, Jeff Sims can run the football at an elite level. I think every single week should be a quarterback battle. And I think Jeff Sims kind of needs to give the staff a reason to start him. And right now, I get it if you're Matt Rhule, and I get it if you're Marcus Satterfield. Haarberg hasn't been great, but he wins football games. And unfortunately, I kind of feel like Matt Rhule will not go away from that until he loses. And until he loses in kind of an embarrassing fashion where it leaves no doubt in anybody's mind that Jeff Sims needs to be the answer. And that might be a game like a Purdue where Haarberg plays really bad and a Ryan Walters coach team takes advantage of it. And we lose in embarrassing fashion against a team we probably should have won. And where we're kind of kicking ourselves and saying, man, if we won that, we would have been in a great position. And that's kind of in the back of my head. I feel like that's going to happen, and I'm scared of it. I'm scared of it happening. So I really want us to jump the curve and kind of give Sims a chance because, yeah, I get it. Jeff Sims is not a good quarterback either. But you kind of have a situation where you're battling with two bad quarterbacks. You're saying, I mean, what's the worst of two evils right here? Really, the only thing I'll say is that Haarberg does not turn the ball over as much as Jeff Sims. And that's crucial. That is crucial. And that was something Jeff Sims struggled with even in camp. But Haarberg just can't make plays offensively. He can't get chunk plays unless with his legs. I don't trust his arm. Like, I don't trust Jeff Sims' arm, but Haarberg, man, every time he drops back to pass, I'm cringing. So, really, it's a tough situation. It's a tough situation if you're Matt Rhule, and I truly believe that he will not go away from Haarberg until he loses. I think that's honestly the smart move. You know, just from a PR standpoint, like, it would look a lot worse if you put Jeff Sims in there against Purdue and lost that football game rather than if you put Haarberg in there and lost the football game. Like, it'd look a lot worse if you put Jeff Sims in there. So we'll see what happens there. I'm of the opinion that, honestly, Jeff Sims is probably the more talented quarterback. But if he can figure out his turnover issues, he should be the guy. But as of right now, we'll see. But I'm okay with Haarberg starting if he continues to win. If he continues to win, I'm all right. Like, same thing with Jimmy Garoppolo with the 49ers for the longest time. Like, Jimmy Garoppolo was not great. 49ers kept winning, though. So I guess we have to roll with them, right? So that's my opinion. So that's the good. That's the bad with this team. Man, it feels great to be in a position to win a bowl game, though. Or not to win a bowl game, to even be in a bowl game. Man, Purdue's such a big game. Purdue is such a big game. And Purdue is not a great football team. They're not a good football team. Ryan Walters inherited that. Jeff Brom took a lot of players. They're just not great. They're not great. They're coming off a blowout loss to Ohio State. They lost to Iowa. They lost to Wisconsin. They lost to Syracuse. This is a team that's lost 4 straight. Or excuse me, they've lost 5 straight. Or no, never mind. They beat Illinois. I forgot about that game. So they've lost 4 of their last 5. Excuse me. It's a beatable team. It's a beatable team, and if we can get the offense going, and I will say this about every single game we play, if we can score more than 20 points, we'll win. Will we score more than 20 points? I doubt it. So we'll see going forward. Let me know if there's anything you want to add about the good, the bad, and the potential ugly for Nebraska. Anything on the rest of my head? I mean, Tristan Alvano's been getting a little better. I never really doubted him. At the end of the day, he's a true freshman kicker. They figured it out over time. It's just nerves. It's just nerves. He has the talent. So he's been figuring it out. Man, I just want to see a bunch of true freshmen show up, and that'll be good for the long haul. That'll be good for the future. So hopefully that happens. So as always, go Matt Rhule. Go Big Red. Please hit the subscribe button. Again, I'm sorry for not having a video for about 2 weeks. I've had stuff going on. I am the play-by-play man for my high school, so we've been really focused in on that. But yeah, that's about it, everybody. We'll be having a video come out in a couple of days talking about Purdue, how do we win, how do we lose, all that good stuff. So hit the subscribe button if you don't want to miss it. And as always, see you in the next one.